It's a great pleasure to be back once again with another Ben's MicroVision podcast episode. As ever, this podcast is for entertainment and general information purposes only and is not a financial advice podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about MicroVision's strategic reprioritization of the military market segment, some of my thoughts about why that might be happening, and where MicroVision fits into the current Defensetech ecosystem. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, for the next little bit, we're going to talk about this idea that MicroVision is transitioning from a LIDAR supplier to a spatial intelligence solution provider, and why that changes how they should be perceived. The combination of the LIDAR, the micro display, and the sensor fusion software, along with the edge AI that's embedded on the chips, gives MicroVision a perception stack that has value in multiple layers of the solution. Okay, they're strategically aligned with emerging defense tech priorities. I'm going to talk about what that means. And low latency edge localized decision loops are made possible through this low level integration between the software that is embedded on the chips and of course the LiDAR sensor and all that processing. You can then arrive at a decision much faster. Okay, so in the current fiscal year, the government's going to be spending $13 billion on autonomy and related systems. $13 billion is roughly $1.1 billion per month, every month for 12 months straight, to build autonomous systems for both drones, aircraft, as well as land vehicles. So that's a lot of money to invest, and there's a limited pool of potential companies with the right suite of hardware and software that are based in the United States that potentially could participate in building these futuristic autonomous systems. Okay, so why is MicroVision one of those companies that we think is well positioned to participate in that $13 billion? Well, MicroVision powers the OODA loop. Okay, what this means is enabling real-time situational awareness and decision-making at the edge. So if you think about a swarm of drones, each drone can function independently, respond to its environment independently because of the sensors on the drone as well as the sensor fusion of all those sensors to arrive at a decision point where the drone can take appropriate action, and it doesn't have to be interfered with by anybody back at a command and control type of place. So MicroVision will allow this OODA loop to enable real-time decision making. Okay, OODA stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. This concept was developed by US Air Force Colonel John Boyd, and the basic premise is if you can get faster through Observe, Orient, Decide, Act loop, you win. I would also suggest that if you have better inputs into what you're observing, you can make better decisions when it's time to make that decision. So MicroVision's product and software offering will improve the decisions happening in very real time. Okay, how are they going to do that? They're going to do that by first observing with the LiDAR and then an on-chip fusion with the other sensors that are on the device. That would include cameras, radar, thermal sensors, night vision sensors, what have you. And then all of those different sensors are fused together with software that is resident on the MicroVision chip. Then that data stream informs the next step, which is the orient. So we understand what's happening. We understand what's happening because We've got object tracking, velocity estimation, edge detection. All kinds of smarts are baked into the MicroVision LIDAR processor that it can onboard all these other cameras and other sensors, integrate the streams, and then decide what's happening in the stream. So the next step is decision, which is, given what's happening in the data stream, what is the right course of action right now? Okay, and so this means I understand what's happening. Based on what's happening, I'm going to make an inference or a suggestion about the future probability of things. And then by being enmeshed with the control mechanisms of the device, you can steer it one way or the other. You can make it brake. You can alert somebody. You can, of course, fire a weapon. You can do all kinds of things. This is Laser Roasted. It's my own coffee brand. It's small batch, roasted to order, and it's the freshest coffee I've ever had. I opened this bag of Choco Nut Hyperdrive today, and I could not believe how good it smells. So you're going to be blown away by having the freshest coffee you can get anywhere in the world. 1 cup and you'll say, make mine Laser Roasted. Get your bag at laserroasted.com. Okay, so I want to frame the autonomous capabilities as a kind of layered stack where each layer on top of the stack adds more value. Okay, so on a hardware layer, you've got, of course, the LIDAR, you've got the camera sensors, you've got the thermal and the night vision and all this stuff. So here's our hardware layer. We're assembling components that can do the inputs that we need for our data stream. And we believe the MicroVision LIDAR is uniquely suited for its high resolution, compact form factor, wide scanning angle, incredible ruggedness, all this stuff. So these are things you could throw a brick at them and they'd still keep going. The next layer is the sensor fusion and perception software. So at the hardware layer, we acquire the raw data from the LIDAR sensors and multiple other sensors. And then we fuse those streams together from those sensors into a single data stream that is a composite of all of the inbound data. And then that data is perceived by the next level of AI on the MicroVision chip. And this next level is the thing that recognizes there's something in the way of your system. There's an object in front of you, and it's either a pedestrian or another vehicle or an inbound missile or whatever, right? You can understand what something is and where it's going. You can tell the ground from a wall. You can tell a lane on the freeway. You can figure out where's available space for you to move. All this stuff is like a next level set of reasoning happening on the MicroVision chip. So when we talk about reasoning like ChatGPT is doing and all these artificial intelligence companies, they're all generally operating in a 2D plane. Facebook recently announced a 3D motion interaction type of AI framework, and it's pretty interesting, and I'll try and pull it up either on this one or the next one. But essentially, AI has been in 2D space, generating language and interpreting things and making files. Well, now AI is going to be about processing a real-time data stream that has multiple dimensions to it, like point cloud of LIDAR, image sensor information, thermals. So this data stream is very rich and is happening, however many times per second. And then the reasoning's happening on the chip to figure out what is the meaning of everything that's happening. So that's itself, hugely valuable. So this is where spatial intelligence really comes into being. First you become aware of something, then you're able to understand what it is that you're seeing, and then the next thing is to do real-time decision making based on that information. So now we are at triggering maneuvers, performing the actions, doing the right thing based on the situation that you've determined, right? And this all happens within however many nanoseconds of processing, because it's all embedded on this chip the MicroVision provides with the LIDAR sensor. So at the top level of the stack, you've got autonomous capabilities and missions. So this is kind of like the Anduril Lattice concept, or some Palantir software, or some Raytheon software, where all of the different nodes on the autonomous network are being orchestrated, in real time with the human orchestrator, presumably. But each node here on the network is operating itself on a closed loop basis. So it's able to understand what the goal is and what it needs to do based on the goal. So essentially, what MicroVision is providing is edge-based mission execution, where the threats are understood, the route to get there, and the behaviors that are doing can all be executed in real time in, of course, fractions of seconds over and over again. And so this way you understand the environment, you can perform your goal better because you're able to dip, dodge, and dive as the situation calls for. Okay, so that's all very exciting. There's a real-time backdrop of the Department of Defense plumbing billions of dollars monthly into this sector for new capabilities that they want to bring online very fast. And there's MicroVision with a 30-year plus history of providing these types of very high-tech solutions. Only now they're as mature and capable as they've ever been. So, going back to my point last week, the time is right for a effective rebranding of the company to reflect this strategic orientation from a more automotive focus to defense tech leader, because we've been a defense tech leader in terms of R&D and innovation to produce the technology that made the laser scanning engine possible over a long time. And we've worked on government programs to benefit soldier safety and situational awareness going back many, many years. So, what would happen if MicroVision was able to express a defense tech focus where they're bringing this edge AI capability to market with both sensors and software, right? Story changes from automotive LiDAR supplier trying to get a vehicle OEM to embed the LiDAR sensor into cars to a platform solution provider making this autonomous capability that's never happened before, something that's cost effective and scalable into the market. So that's like an awesome story. Okay, so as of today's recording, this is a list of ETFs that have MicroVision shares in them. And the total number of shares is 10.8 million, which is about 4% of the company's outstanding shares. Now, feel free to correct me if any of these are not correct and accurate. But to the best of my ability to find them, I found these 20 or so ETFs holding shares of MicroVision, collectively 10.8 million shares. So the majority of these are market index trackers, Russell 2000 or small cap, Russell 3000, what have you. But a handful are like thematic ETFs. So we see the biggest of those thematic ETFs is FIGHT, which is the military ETF run by the S&P Kensho Group. Future Security, so Defensetech. So they've bought 700,000 shares of MicroVision just themselves. So that's pretty interesting. The next one is the Fidelity Electric Vehicles and Future Transportation ETF, holding 222,000. So based on the original branding of safety safe mobility at the speed of light. They're in that vehicle one. The next one is metaverse themed. So it's pretty awesome, I think, that despite that vertical being kind of downplayed in order for the company to focus on automotive, the understanding from certain players in the market that MicroVision is a leader in the metaverse by virtue of its laser scanning projection display engine and being the powering engine behind the biggest, most successful augmented reality headset of recent years, which is the HoloLens 2. Now, I'm not saying it was a runaway success on every level, but I'm saying it's the state-of-the-art in augmented reality coming out, what was it, 2019 timeframe. So anyway, these are all ETFs that own MicroVision. This is a list of the ETFs that are AI themed. So you've got new economies, you've got Global Robotics Automation Index, you've got Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, Invesco AI, Enhanced Value Fund, Innovation AI Fund. Okay, there's 47 of these that I could find, AI themed ETFs, and they collectively hold $74 billion in assets. Okay, so that's pretty wild. And then here in the defense land, there's 12 that I could find. I'm sure there's more. And the sum of their total assets across those 12 is $21 billion. Okay, so let's imagine a world where MicroVision is successful at transitioning from being seen as a LIDAR provider to automotive to being seen as an autonomous systems capability provider in the defense tech industry based on AI. So if that were to happen, we could imagine maybe of these 69 some ETFs that MicroVision could penetrate 10% of those, okay, with a successful story and some traction in the market oriented on defense and AI. And if they got through 10% of these ETFs that are thematically based, that would mean they'd get into 5 ETFs in the AI space and just one more ETF in the defense space. I rounded down in that case because you can't get into half an ETF. So if this were to happen, they would be in 6 new ETFs. Now, if those 6 ETFs each allocated 1% of their average value to MicroVision, then that would mean that across AI it'd be $78.7 million of demand for MicroVision shares, and in defense would be $17.5 million. Total value of $96 million. Okay, and that's based on this math. There's 47 ETFs with a value of $74 billion. So the average ETF has $1.57 billion of dollars under management. If they penetrated 5 of those ETFs, and each of them allocated 1% of their holdings to MicroVision, then you'd get to this value, $78.7 million. If they allocated that value at today's price, which would not be able to happen, but if they did, they would buy 83 million shares of MicroVision, which is 34% of the outstanding shares of the company. Okay, so what this means is a successful story around defense and AI, along with successful engagement of the people who run these ETFs, would result in demand for at least $90 million worth of MicroVision stock if they were successful at 10%. If they were successful at 20%, then that number doubles. Right? Okay, so just to come back to this image, what I want you to imagine is that MicroVision laser projectors are powering the head-up display for the soldier who's turned into a superhuman figure with the capabilities that this integrated head-up display provides. Okay, it's receiving the fused sensor information from the drones that are using the LIDAR and the other sensors and fusing the data stream together and piping back the necessary information for the soldier to be as safe and effective as possible. Okay, and they both receive their information through this I/O of AI, which is MicroVision. And it's a wonderful catchphrase that they used a while back when they were talking about the smart speaker as the AI. Well, now, they're the AI in a real way as the platform provider, because they've got the inputs, they've got the fusion, they've got the ability to understand context and make predictions, and all of it happens on the MicroVision chip. So that's pretty awesome. And of course, it's delivering the information to the soldier in a head-up way where he can keep his hands on his weapon and understand what he needs to understand during very dangerous real-time situations. So there you have it, I think. Just want to close by saying thanks so much to everybody for your kind words and encouragement. It means a lot. I'm grateful to be able to interact with each of you and share our combined passion for MicroVision and its opportunities in the market. As I mentioned, there's $13 billion in autonomous systems funding available in this year's budget from the DoD. So if we assume that MicroVision is able to package a offer or align with a partner to start to bring some of this stuff to market, then I think the sky's the limit. And if I were advising them, I would say lean in to the military history of the company and the opportunity we have to make a game-changing kind of platform play, providing these autonomous solutions in the very dangerous environments. So once again, thanks everybody. Look forward to getting back with you soon on next Saturday's edition. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.